And good morning, everyone. Welcome back. My name is Don K. Preston. I am the president of Preterist Research Institute of Ardmore, Oklahoma. And if maybe you can see, I'm continuing to watch and to listen to Dr. William Lane Craig as he expresses his views in regard to the time statements about the coming of the Lord in the first century. I find it just more than remarkable of how Dr. William Lane Craig argues to do away, to mitigate those time statements. I've shared with you that Dr. Craig talks about contextual ambiguity. We don't really know the context in which those time statements were given. Well, in the part of the video I'm looking at now, he is examining Mark chapter 13. Do we not know the context of that setting? Well, we know that Jesus had been in the temple with his apostles. We know he left the temple. We know the disciples asked him or showed him the beauty and the size of the stones of the temple. We know that he said that temple was going to be destroyed. Not one stone would be left standing on another. We know that the disciples in Mark chapter 13, verse 3 and 4 said, "Tell us, when shall these things be, and what shall be the sign when all of these things shall come to pass?" We know this context. What is there that we don't know about this context? Now, I find it then almost disturbing that as Dr. Craig continues through Mark chapter 13, he examines the statements about when these things would take place, and he focuses in on verse 30. "Verily I say unto you, this generation will by no means pass away until all of these things pass away or come to pass." And Dr. Craig says, we don't know what all of these things are, even though verses 24 to 27 mention the coming of the Son of Man. Now here's the problem, folks. Dr. William Lane Craig has a presuppositional concept of the coming of the Son of Man. He believes that it must be a literal, physical, bodily descent of a 5'5" Jewish man out of heaven on a cumulus cloud. Now, since that did not happen in the generation in which Jesus spoke those words, then Dr. Craig therefore looks for a way to argue away, to sweep away the emphatic time statement that that generation would not pass away. Here's the argument that he made. Even though these things referred to in verse 4, the fall of Jerusalem, and even though these things, in verse 23, referred to the signs leading up to the fall of Jerusalem, Dr. Craig says, this is video, Doctrine of the Last Things, Part 7 video. I posted the link on my Facebook. He says that one, by reading Mark 13, verse 30, would get the misimpression. They'd get the wrong impression that those things were to happen in that generation. Well, once again, are we supposed to believe that Mark was such a horrible writer that he could not see the dilemma that he was creating? I mean, after all, here's the prediction of the coming of the Son of Man, verses 24 to 27, and then he says, ostensibly recording the words of Jesus, he then says, "But of that day and hour knows no man, no, not the angels, no, not the Son, but the Father only." And Dr. Craig says of this verse, well, here we have Jesus saying no man could know it, not the angels, not him, only the Father. And he says, how could Jesus predict, how could Jesus have said that his coming was going to be in that generation if he himself did not know the time? Well, this is a very bad failure, with all due respect, on the part of Dr. William Lane Craig. Does he not know the difference between saying, this generation shall not pass, and saying, it shall occur on this day and hour? Is there not a difference between this generation and the day and the hour? One is a generic reference, broadly stated, and yet still delimited to that generation. The other is a specific, very explicit point of time within that generation. There is no dichotomy here. There is no misinformation. There is no wrong impression. There is the emphatic statement that the coming of the Son of Man would occur in that generation, even though Jesus did not know the specific day and the hour within that generation when His coming would be. In our next lesson, in our next installment, I will demonstrate how Dr. William Lane Craig has completely and totally ignored what I call the process of revelation in his appeal to Mark chapter 13:32 when he says, "But of that day and hour knows no man." You do not want to miss this. In the meantime, in order to understand the nature of the coming of the Son of Man that Dr. William Lane Craig is obviously misinterpreting, let me urge you to get a copy of my book, Like Father, Like Son, on Clouds of Glory. This book is one of the most in-depth, one of the most definitive examinations of the nature of the second coming of Christ that you will find anywhere. Go to my website, eschatology.org or bibleprophecy.com. Order the book, mention that you saw the offer on YouTube or Facebook, and I'll refund your shipping, and that will save you about $5, okay? Like Father, Like Son, on Clouds of Glory. Thanks so much for joining me for this morning's Morning Musings. Hope you have a fantastic weekend. Lord willing, I'll be back with you on Monday.